So when I was under 14s, I was sort of playing in the youth team, which was back then was under 19s.
When you were 14?
Once you know you make a mistake, everyone knows it's a mistake. It's not the end of the world. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's a human error. We obviously got promoted to the Premier League, and we had a couple of injuries. I was only, I think, 19 or 20 at the time. You know, you dream when you're a boy, especially me playing for the hometown team, the team that I supported home and away, and making my debut for them. It is all I'd ever dreamed about, you know, and identifying what you're not so good at and just being brave and working on and making mistakes, but learning from them and getting better at them. We had a coach, Ian Holloway. He was crazy. He was, you know, he was a little bit out there in his press conference stuff, but on the pitch, he was brilliant. Tactically, he was brilliant.
Yes, guys, welcome back to another video here on the Andy #1 channel. I'm back again in my room stroke office stroke daughter's playroom. There we've got Elsa, Anna, Moana and Belle on the corner, as well as my Wembley Cup shirt from the first Wembley Cup. But today is the second episode of Tuesday Talk. So every Tuesday, live on Instagram, 8 o'clock, I'll be talking to a goalkeeper, goalkeeping coach, someone from the world of football about anything and everything to do with their career and their experiences to date. Today, I'm talking to current first-team goalkeeper at Morecambe, who are in League 2, Mark Halstead. Mark's had a very interesting career so far. He was part of the Blackpool team, which won promotion to the Premier League, made his league debut away at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge for Blackpool. Then moved on a couple of clubs, went to Shrewsbury, won promotion to League 1 with Shrewsbury, and now he's at Morecambe. So I'm sure he'll have some really good insights, some really interesting things to say about his career and things that he's been taught along the way. Right, let's get into the video. Mark, you made it.
Oh, you mate, okay?
Yeah, I'm right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Getting through this corona and that isolation. It's all good.
Yeah, how is isolation for you?
It's actually quite entertaining. We've got a young son, 2.5, so he keeps us on our toes all day, every day. My fiance is a teacher, so she's working now and again. It's just nice to spend some time with him, really, watch him develop a little bit more, because we don't really get this all day, every day, like full-on access to him. So it's good. It's really enjoying it, to be fair.
Yeah, it's good. I'm in a similar sort of boat. So I've got a 3.5-year-old and a 6-month-old as well, and I'm working from home all the time. So popping in and out, being able to see them. I was watching a ballet class on Monday that she was doing and stuff. But it's really interesting to get that insight that you don't normally get, do you?
No, exactly, yeah. I am getting a bit sick of pretending to be Hulk or Spider-Man, but other than that...
So are you able to train at the moment?
Well, probably not many people know this. I had an operation on my hip 8 weeks ago today.
Okay.
So after the last round of games we played, on the Tuesday, I had an operation. So that, well, I thought that was my season done. I was planning to get back for pre-season. But we're 8 weeks into sort of 12, 14 week sort of rehab. So touch wood, I might be fit for the next game, which I never thought would happen.
Right. So are you going through a full rehab process then, are you, at the moment?
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 weeks I was just on crutches, not doing an awful lot at all. And then it's been gradually just a lot of mobility on the hip. I bought a spin bike, so I've been doing a lot of that. And then I'm meant to be starting running again this week. So I need to speak to the physios, like make sure I'm at the right sort of where I should be at, pain-wise and stuff like that. And then hopefully start running, straight line running this week.
Right, so your mobility then and your flexibility and fitness is Spider-Man, Batman.
Yeah, I'm jumping around like a bit of an idiot a lot of the time in the garden and stuff. But yeah, it's a little bit monotonous, a little bit boring. But it's it's when you're away from everyone as well. Motivation some days is a little bit hard when you're doing the same exercise over and over and again. But ultimately, the end goal is to get fit and get playing again. So that's what you've got to do.
Right. So, I mean, just first of all, thanks a lot for doing this.
No problem at all.
So it'd be great to get an insight into a current professional footballer and your journey and whatnot. To give a little bit of background to you, you came up through the ranks at Blackpool. You got your first pro contract when you were about 19.
Yeah.
You made your debut, I believe, at MK Dons away at the league.
Yeah.
Part of the team that got promoted to the Premier League, part of the squad.
Yeah, part of the squad, yeah.
And then made your league debut away at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
It was at home. Yeah.
Home.
Yeah, on Monday Night Football. Yeah, some league debuts come into.
Yeah, that's one hell of a game. And then from there, you went on loan to quite a few places.
Yeah.
Then went into Shrewsbury for a few
Yeah.
years. Won promotion from League 2 to League 1 with Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
And now you're at Morecambe, where you've been for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's basically my journey. Yeah.
That's what Wikipedia tells me.
Yeah, there's probably a little bit more to it than that, but that, in a nutshell, that's been my story. Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the people who follow me and are young goalkeepers.
Yeah.
They've got an interest in the game. They've got an interest in how to become pro.
Yeah.
So, going back in terms of your journey, going right back to the start, when did you start playing? How did it go?
So I just started playing locally. I was obsessed. I was just obsessed with football, not particularly goalkeeping at that point, just anything football. Where have you got here?
I have gone. I am here. I trust me.
Yeah, so I was just started playing locally for my local team. I got scouted when I was 8 or 9 by Blackpool. I obviously had a little trial there for a couple of weeks, and they took me on. And then, yeah, I was there from 9 till the age of 23, really, 23, 24. So that's where I learned all my trade, and that's where everything sort of started for me.
So when you were 9 years old, you went on trial at Blackpool. How was that trialling process?
It was basically because under 9s at that time was the first sort of age group where they were taken on at the Centre of Excellence. So they had a few scouts going around like the whole town and surrounding areas, and then pick out obviously the best sort of talents that they thought. And then a lot of us would go down and have a trial, then they'd pick sort of the best, whatever it was, 15 of us or something like that. And then a lot of them sort of fell by the wayside as we went along through the years. But, you know, I'm the one that stood through with it.
So you went through the whole age groups with Blackpool.
Yeah.
At that time, what were the main differences as you were going up through the ranks then, if you were going through the age groups?
I started playing up the age groups when I was quite young. Obviously, I was doing well when I was younger, so they sort of try to push me a little bit. So I just found the size and the power, especially when you're that young, from like 12 to 13, or when you're playing a couple of years above. Just the size, the amount that people can grow, and the difference in sizes that people are at that age, at them ages. That was what I found the main difference was when I was sort of playing up a couple of age groups.
And then when you then went from being a youngster going through the age groups, obviously you go one age, then suddenly you could become a pro.
Yeah.
19 at the time. So you're already a big guy for 19, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was. Well, I'm not massive. I'm 6'1". I was a little bit skinnier back then. I was a little bit thin, really, a little bit lightweight. And then I think it took me to actually playing men's football, like non-league, to realise that I had to sort of bulk up and like man up. Well, not man up, but you know what I mean. Sort of fill my size out a little bit. But yeah, it was all part of a learning process, which I think a lot of young pros do. To sort of learn the trade, like going out on loan and stuff like that, and playing men's football where it actually means something.
So how was it when you first stepped in as a pro and you went into training? Who were you sort of training with at the time? What was the differences then between youth team football and training as a pro?
So I got fast-tracked a fair bit when I was younger. So when I was under 14s, I was sort of playing in the youth team, which was back then was under 19s.
When you were 14, was that?
Yeah. That's when I first played my first sort of few games. And then the year after that, under 15s, I started playing sort of a few reserve games against men. I think they were sort of trying to push me being a local lad. And obviously I had a little bit of ability back then, what they perceived. They were just trying to push me because I think they thought they had something on their hands. But yeah, I think I grew up mentally quite young, but not physically until I got to my early 20s.
Right. And there's actually been a few questions that have come in over Instagram over the last few hours or so about about how to mentally prepare for a game.
Yeah.
You're saying at that sort of age, you're obviously playing against men, you're playing up a good few ages. You've got to create and prepare yourself for that sort of experience that you're going to put yourself in.
Yeah.
So how did you go through that?
Obviously at the start, young and naive, I was a little bit nervous and very nervous, scared, anxious. Obviously I was playing against some 19-year-olds who are actually men, and I was still a 14-year-old boy, basically, 14, 15-year-old boy. So after your first sort of few games, and then if you do all right, you sort of realise there's actually no pressure on you. So I went in with a mentality of just in trying to enjoy it. Because, you know, I was in a very lucky position. When I was 12, I signed a 4-year contract, so I knew I had a bit of security, and I sort of knew from when I was 14-ish that I was going to get a youth team deal and whatnot. So I knew they had high hopes in me. So it was just a case of trying to enjoy it and just get as much experience and learn as much as I could at the time.
And how's that changed to now, how you actually prepare for a game?
I'm a lot more chilled out nowadays. Even when I first started playing league football, I got nervous a fair bit. I worried about things, but I think that comes with experience. That once you know you make a mistake, everyone knows it's a mistake. It's not the end of the world. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's a human error. And I'm 30 in a few months. I've come to trust my ability a lot more. Trust that what I work on during the week and what I've worked on for so many years, to just go out and enjoy it and play with a calm head. Because I think once you get nervous and anxious, that's when I start making mistakes. So I'll just try and calm everything down without being too blasé, confident but calm.
Is there any sort of strategies that you go through? Is there any sort of pre-match prep that you do in order to try and get yourself into that state?
Well, away games is... sometimes you're in hotels, we eat the same food, the same sort of times. So when I'm at home on a Friday night, I try and do the similar sort of things, eat similar stuff on a Friday. Saturday's me on the lie-in, so I get a good sleep Friday night, good breakfast and good pre-match meal. I'm not overly superstitious, or anything like that. I've got a warm-up routine that it's just sort of stumbled across, and I found it works for me. It's just basically getting my body ready and my mind, but then just going in just confident, but also, like I said, calm, and having full faith in my ability. That whatever gets thrown at me, I've dealt with thousands of times before in training.
Yeah. So going back to then your league debut at home versus Chelsea.
Yeah.
Talk us through that experience. That's one of
it was. It's a bit weird talking about it. It seems so long ago now. We got promoted to the Premier League, and we had a couple of injuries. I was only, I think, 19 or 20 at the time, so I was still very young, as in goalkeeping terms, especially to be in the Premier League. So I was in probably about 20, 25 of the matchday squads on the bench and whatnot, so I got to see all the grounds and stuff like that, and feel all the atmospheres. But back then, I think I just thought, I took it a little bit for granted, maybe, and just thought this is normal. This is what happens every week. So when I did get my chance, when the keeper went down injured, it's strange to say, it just felt like just normal. It's just another day. It's just another game, even though it was my debut, and you got all these superstars running at you, and it's on telly and stuff like that. I think being young and a little bit naive helped, not realising the actual gravity of what was going on and how many people were watching and stuff.
That's did you get fazed by that at all? Did you kind of look in? I mean, Chelsea at the time must have had a few superstars playing.
Yeah, it was the year after they just won the league, so they were technically still champions.
Right.
So they had a decent team, to be fair to him. It's just when they signed Torres that January transfer window. So it was a couple months after that. Not phased as such, because I sort of knew I was coming on for about 10 minutes. He was sort of like the keeper at the time went down injured, and like I could see he wasn't going to be able to carry on. So I had like me 5-10 minutes sort of warm up on the side, sort of gearing myself up mentally. But once I got on it, you just treat it like a game. You've been through these situations so many times in training and growing up and stuff. As weird as it sounds, even though it was in the Premier League, it was just another game. But then after about 20 minutes or so of being on the pitch, I was thinking, I'm playing on the telly on Monday Night Football, and this is weird. I've got all these superstars running at me and stuff. It was strange, but I think when you, like I said before, when you're young and a little bit naive to it, you sort of think it's normal. You just try and take it all in your stride.
So being part of that Blackpool squad that got promoted to the Premier League, and then being part of that whole experience, how was that?
It was incredible, really. I'm a Blackpool lad, Blackpool fan growing up. So I was playing for my hometown team in the Premier League, which is they hadn't done ever. It was a little bit surreal. Um, like it's hard to explain. Once you're in the training and then you're in and around it all, it's just business. It's just work hard every day. You don't. I didn't really have time to take it all in and think, "Oh my God, we're at Anfield this weekend" or anything like that. It's like, "Oh, we've got Liverpool Saturday, but then we've got don't know, West Brom on Tuesday, something like that." It was just constantly preparing, constantly training. Looking back at, it, I would like to take it in a bit more, like for the memories and stuff. But at the time, it's just work, really.
So you're part of that successful team there at Blackpool, and then you went on to another successful team in Shrewsbury and getting promoted to League One there. What were the main differences or similarities between the setup at Blackpool that you had and the setup at Shrewsbury that you had?
Well, I think a lot of Blackpool fans will know that the setup there at the time wasn't great. The training ground wasn't great at all. But we were a lot of working class sort of lads all in it together, we all had the same aims. Went up to Shrewsbury. It was set up very well. It's a very good club. I really enjoyed it. I think I had 3 years there. Really enjoyed it. The people there. It's a nice town. Very nice people. It was. I think I went from the Championship to League Two, and I thought I sort of seen it as a step down. But then you sort of realise that it's proper men's football. It's a lot more physical. It's not all about the aesthetics and the short passing and stuff. It's just winning games. It's people's livelihoods on the line every week.
Yeah, I mean, something that Scott Dutton said actually last week was about his move into non-league football, and something very similar. It's men's football that actually means something.
Yeah.
Did you find that your loans that you had when you were at Blackpool to the various teams in and around, it was about it was around the conference. A lot of your teams, it was Kettering, some others.
Yeah.
That sort of set you up.
Yeah, I think I had like 3 or 4 loan spells in the conference, but before that I had a couple leagues down as well. The one below the Conference North, I went there my first one, and I remember my first game. I come out to box and headed one away, and clattered the striker at the same time. Sort of got a bit dazed. I remember this big ball centre half coming up to me like, "We just won the game, won the World Cup," or something. It's like without swearing, like that's what it meant. He was screaming in my face, like absolutely. Like buzzing because I come out and taken someone out. I was like, "Oh, well, this is a bit strange." But you sort of come to, that's when I found I sort of became a man in a way in terms of football. Them experiences sort of harden you up, I feel, especially as a goalkeeper, because when you go that low down, you're there to get bashed about, and you don't get too much protection. But that's what them leagues are about. And then I think it stood me in good stead for where I got to, where I'm at now.
Yeah, so talking about getting up to where you are now, is there a defining moment, do you think, within your career that you've gone, that's special, that's really good, that's kind of like the pinnacle of what's happened so far? Is there one standout moment?
Well, I think going back to it, probably my first game is the standout moment. Not even the Chelsea one, the MK Dons one in the cup. You dream when you're a boy, especially me playing for the hometown team, the team that I supported home and away, and making my debut for them. It is all I'd ever dreamed about, and I fulfilled that dream. Not many people get to do. So yeah, the debut is probably a standout moment.
And where I am now at the moment, I've just moved into coaching, and I'm coaching goalkeepers at Hashtag. So I'm really interested about coaches that have influenced you and what was special about them.
The one that stands out to me, Danny Coyne at Shrewsbury. He's at Middlesbrough now. He developed me in all aspects. I was a little bit of a hothead, a little bit immature when I went there, probably 24 to 26. And, if things weren't going my way, I didn't react very well sometimes. And he taught me, without shouting and stuff, he taught me not just goalkeeping wise, but stuff away from football as well. Just about life, about being a person, how to react and how to deal with different situations when things aren't necessarily going your way. Because of his experience, he had a great career. But away from that mental side, as a coach, he was brilliant. He kept things very fresh, like he kept things very up to date and kept you interested rather than saying I've had coaches sometimes where you know what you're going to be doing on that day. So after a while, it becomes a little bit monotonous, a little bit boring as it sounds, because you know exactly what session you're going into. But yeah, Danny Coyne, he was brilliant, and he played a massive part in my career, definitely.
Have you seen there's a difference within goalkeeper coaching, goalkeeper training from when you first started to where you are now?
Yeah, I sort of come through. I was sort of like the last sort of when I was obviously training with the first team when I was young. It was very old school. There was a hell of a lot of up downs, and you know, just hard work. And I think it's not going out of the game. I think you still need it massively, but a lot of it's become a little bit more technical nowadays. And you sort of ease down during the week. You have your hard recovery Monday, your hard day Tuesday, and sort of ease down. But I found it's less physical training wise. Actually on the field, obviously you do gym work and stuff, but on the field I found it's become like every day we just get blasted. Like you come off the pitch every day, no matter what, you'd be knackered. And that's what I still enjoy that now in a sick sort of way. I enjoy coming off a training pitch thinking, I've worked hard today. I really enjoy that. But I think it's sort of changing it, a lot more technical. You do a lot more. You go off from the game on the Saturday. Anything the coach had picked up, you work on them things they've seen that might not be right, and then coming towards the end of the week when you're preparing, you sort of look at the oppositions and their strengths and how they're going to attack you and deal with them. So if you've got playing against a long ball team or someone who's got a long throw or puts a lot of crosses in, we'll work on that.
So is there a set structure that you run through within a week, depending on if you're playing one game, two games, and then how your sessions look around that?
Yeah, I think so. If you played on the Saturday, the Monday is a little bit of a down day. You go out on the pitch for a little bit, just get a little bit of blood pumping, and then we have yoga in the afternoon if you played. If you haven't played, it'll be a tough morning, and then it'll be a tough gym session. Tuesday is normally just tough for everybody, the work day as such. And then Thursday you probably do, the lads will do a lot of distance, but sort of tailored down towards the game. A lot of technical, tactical stuff on the Thursday we do. And then Friday is normally just short and sharp. Get in, do the small-sided games and whatnot, then get off.
Right. I mean, you spoke just in terms of your time at Shrewsbury that you developed all round as a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
What do you think your key attributes are then?
Like I said before, I'm 6 foot, about 6'1", so I'm not huge. So I've had to work on my physicality, but I found that my footwork gets me out of a lot of problems where other taller people, whatnot, with bigger reach or stuff. I found my footwork gets me into them positions just as quick, if not quicker. And that's something I worked on. Like I said, when we were working hard, a lot of it was footwork and diving and just hard work. But yeah, that's my feet are probably my best attribute.
Yeah, one of the questions I get asked a lot from younger goalkeepers is what should they be working on? What advice would you?
It's all right working. Anyone can make like worldies. I could stick my missus in goal. Someone kick a ball, hit her and go over. I think anyone can make worldies. I think it's finding your weaknesses and being brave to work on them. So when I was young, my left foot was terrible. I couldn't get it off the floor. Couldn't do anything. So people identified that, especially with Coyne and stuff like that. So we go out in the afternoon, we do loads of left-footed stuff, and then it's not as good as me, right? But I'm comfortable with it nowadays. I think it's just developing your weaknesses and trying to make yourself into an all-round goalkeeper. Obviously, we're still working on your strengths and maintaining them. But I've found as I've got older, I wish I'd done it when I was younger. Maybe more the physicality side, identifying what you're not so good at, and just being brave and working on and making mistakes, but learning from them and getting better at them.
That's actually a good little segue to a question that came in over Instagram. And the question was from Carl Cook 1. And he's asked, what's the one thing that you know now that you wish that you knew when you were 17? So I'm assuming he's 17 or there or thereabouts. Okay, what would you tell your younger self?
It's not the end of the world when you make a mistake. You're still going to go home to your family, whether you're young, or you're still going to go home to your kids. It's not the end of the world. I used to beat myself up massively. But I still do in training to some point. I want to be perfect, but no one's ever going to be perfect. I want to be the best I can be. But if it doesn't go my way, I think I've learned a lot more as I've got over the last few years to how to deal with them sort of situations. But again, when you're young, I think it comes with experience, that kind of thing. But I wish I'd learned that when I was younger, not to beat myself up so much and not try to be the perfect goalkeeper, because it's impossible.
Yeah, that's actually very similar to, it kind of answers two questions there. Another question that came in from Ed_Dyer_GK1. How do you overcome a goal that was your mistake?
Nowadays, forget about it, move on. There's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely nothing. Everyone knows you made a mistake. I'm my own biggest critic. I'll find something that I could have done better in any goal. But you can't change it. You learn from it and move on, especially when you're in that match situation. If you're playing for points, you're playing for your livelihood. It's about the next interaction in that game, making sure you do it right. And you go over the mistakes, like you go over it on the Monday or after the game. But you can't change it. It's as simple as that. Just move on. Try the best you can. It's borderline impossible to forget about it, but you sort of have to in order to carry on playing as well as you can for that rest of that game.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. You just you can't let a mistake lead to another mistake and then downward spiral from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on, sorry.
We're all humans. We're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. So it's just how you deal with it. How your next response in that match. Make sure it's positive. If you go into your shell, it sort of brings on more sort of fear, and it sort of brings on more mistakes, if you like. You just got to get on with it.
I've just noticed Joshua_Macari's just jumped into the chat, and he's actually asked a question before. He's asked, who's the best coach that you've ever played under? So we've asked coach, and from a goalkeeping coach, you said Coyne at Shrewsbury. But in terms of then management, we'll switch it around a little bit there. Who's the best manager that you've ever played with?
Well, going back to the Blackpool days, obviously getting promoted with what was perceived as a bang average squad. We had a coach, Ian Holloway. He was crazy. He was a little bit out there in his press conference stuff, but on the pitch, he was brilliant. Tactically, he was brilliant. But also as a man manager, he's the best I've had by far. He'd always stick up for you in the press. He'd know how to treat every individual person, whether you need to kick up the backside or an arm round you. He's the best I've ever dealt with in that sort of aspect.
Yeah, I would love to have been around you. I was like, that was my sort of age when I was watching a lot of Match of the Day, and you used to see a lot of Ian Holloway pop up and whatnot. He'd like to kind of gave the impression he was a bit of a Brian Cloughy type person in terms of the way that he looked after people. So, right, anyway, moving on. We're jumping around a little bit, but the next question is, you've seen goalkeeping from the conference and slightly below all the way up to the Premier League.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the very top standard and then the lower leagues underneath that?
Consistency, I found. Like I said to you before, anyone can make these saves, it'll be unbelievable. But doing the basics on a consistent basis, I found at the top level was the mistakes are very minimal, and they're not very often at all. That I think that's probably why it gets highlighted a little bit more when high-profile goalkeepers make mistakes. Because I think if you come to our leagues, you'll see mistakes week in, week out. But yeah, it's just consistency and doing the basics right every single time.
And when you were a younger goalkeeper, did you have anyone in particular that you used to look up to?
Yeah. I was sort of the era of David Seaman and Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah.
My dad was dead set against anything Man United, so I looked up to David Seaman. Obviously,
he then went on to play for Man City.
Yeah. David Seaman, obviously because he was English, England's number one and stuff like that. He was sort of probably the person the goalkeeper I looked to when I was growing up. Yeah.
Was there any sort of bits of his game that you then tried to put into your game or anything like that?
Not really, no. If I'm being totally honest, because I was a little bit young. That's just who I looked up to. That was who's England's number one at the time. I think I was a little bit too young to be sort of trying to take technical advice or watching exactly what he does. I think it's when I got a little bit older I started looking at other goalkeepers and seeing what they did and how I could adapt that to my game.
So then now, who are the sort of standout goalkeepers now that you'd look at?
I think it's all the same ones that everyone's going to say. Everyone knows who the top class goalkeepers are. But for me, when I was, it would have been, I was in my last year at school, and we had Joe Hart come on loan. He was about 19, and I was on a couple of day releases from school, so I was training with the first team when I was last years of school, and Joe Hart came in, and he was, honestly, I can't explain how good he was. He was ridiculous. So I sort of tried to, when I was that young, try to model myself on him, seeing what he did, like up close in training every day, how hard he worked, and like all his little techniques and stuff like that. And he was great at giving advice, even though he was a young lad at the time, back then, 19, I think he was. He was unbelievable.
Because he was at Shrewsbury. Was it at Shrewsbury then at that time when he came?
No, it was just after that. It was just when he signed for Man City.
Okay.
I think he went on loan to Tranmere, and then he came on loan to us for the end of the season. I think we were in League One at the time, and his form for them sort of 10 games whatever he played was ridiculous, and they got into playoffs and got promoted. Largely down to him.
So this is a question that came in over Instagram as well, and I'm guessing you know this person, David.
Shapagnak.
Thank you very much. Yeah. He actually asked who's Mark's favourite keeper, which we kind of covered then, and why is it? And why is it David?
David is actually a very, very good goalkeeper. He was at Morecambe with us last year. He was a little bit of an understudy to me and Barry, the other goalkeeper, last year. He's a massive lad. He can make saves like you'll never ever see. What he's lacking, and I think he'll admit himself, because I've had this conversation with him many times, like I was saying to you before, is beating himself up constantly. A goal goes in, which he thinks he should have done something better about in training, but then that's him gone then. For the next 5-10 minutes, his head's all over the place, and then that leads to making more mistakes. Well, not even mistakes. The first one might not be a mistake, but he's beating himself that much in his head that it sort of leads to making more mistakes. But I think that comes with time and experience. He's like that because he wants to do so well for himself, and he has got a lot of ability, to be fair to him. I think he's at Wrexham now. A good lad.
Now, you seem to talk a lot about the mental side of the game and how important it is for goalkeepers. Yeah. Is there a focus at in the coaching staff at the club around that, or is this something that you've just worked out yourself as you've gone through your journey? Yeah,
it's something I've worked out as I've got older. Like I said before, I was a little bit blasé when I was younger. Just I'm a footballer, I didn't really think into much. But as I've got older, like I keep saying to you, I think it comes with experience. You sort of know what works for you, you know what doesn't work for you, and you sort of look, and it sounds bad, but there's more important things than football in my eyes. Now I've got a child and stuff like that. I think that's probably when I started realising that if I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. I'm still going to turn up to work tomorrow. No one's going to think any less of me because they've seen what I've done before. I think mental side, like I keep saying, I think it just comes with age and experience in the bad times, which I've had a fair few. But it's how you react to them and how you grow from them, and most important, learn from them.
Right, just a couple of final questions in. One's just come in from Yusuf 5208. Said, what are the 3 top tips to becoming a professional goalkeeper? So everything that you've said so far, I've just got to summarise them in what are your 3 top tips?
Hard work. You can have all the ability in the world, but if you're not willing to sacrifice a lot when you're younger and work hard for what you actually want, then you're going to get nowhere. Because I've played with some of the best players I've played with didn't even make it into the professional game, perhaps because they didn't work hard enough. And I'm a firm believer, if you work hard enough, you will get your rewards eventually.
I find that really interesting because, you train for 2-3 hours, 4 hours a day potentially.
Yeah.
5-6 days a week. there's 24 hours in a day, all right, you might be sleeping for 8 of them. So there's a hell of a lot of other time away from the training pitch, away from the ground, where you're living your life as a professional.
Yeah.
So it's more about what you do off the pitch to an extent than what you do.
To an extent, yeah. Yeah, when you're in your work, you have to make the most of it. You have to get the most out of every session that you can. Sometimes it's not, it's not easy. If things aren't going your way, it's not. But I've found that just working hard gets you through it. Reacting positively, not letting anyone see that you're down, and just getting on with things. People look at you a lot better. And like I said, there's a lot of time away from the training ground and from the ground. You have to look after yourself, with what you eat and stuff like that, and drinking and stuff like that, doing it at the right times, because it does become very detrimental to you.
So you touched on there that you've played with some great players who haven't made it. Who is the best player that you have played with who has made it?
It'd probably be someone from the Blackpool team. After the season went down, we signed a couple of high-profile players for the time. We had Kevin Phillips. Obviously, he was the Golden Boot winner in the Premier League and stuff like that. We had Barry Ferguson. Won everything in Scotland. But yeah, probably Kevin Phillips. He was at the highest level in England international. Sorry. In training, he was a joke. He could tell you where he was going to put the ball. You could stand there and he'd still beat you. He was that precise, but that, like I said to you before, just that consistent at doing it. And he'd done that for all the years he'd been around, because he come to us, I think he was probably mid to late 30s, and he still had it then. He was ridiculous. He scored a lot of goals for us as well that year.
Yeah, like you say, he was a phenomenal player in his time. Yeah. Final question.
Yep.
I'm going to ask. You can have the choice of 3 goalkeepers for a training session. Any 3 goalkeepers from any era, but it would be obviously when they're in the prime. Who would it be and why?
I'll go for my mate Matt Gilks. He's at Scunthorpe now. He's had a great career. I was at Blackpool with him for 5-6 years. During them time, he was sort of my mentor, if you like. We got on very well on the pitch and away from the pitch because we worked hard together. But also, most of all, we enjoyed working hard, and we enjoyed what we did, and we had the same sort of humour, and we had a good laugh. So probably for them sort of reason, he'd be in there definitely. It's a tough one. There's so many great goalkeepers from over the years. I'd probably like to train with someone young and upcoming to see, what's different in their game. So probably maybe even Dean Henderson. He's young. He's performing unbelievably well in the Premier League with Sheffield United. To see what he does, see like if I could learn anything from someone younger rather than being me set in my old ways, and thinking, because I've experienced a lot that I know it all. Try to learn something from someone younger, because obviously he's in the modern day game at the highest level. So someone like him. So I've got Gilksy, Dean Henderson, and I know I've already mentioned it. It's not like harping on, but I go back to Joe Hart. If I could go back to them days when I was 15, 16, training with him, I'd take so much more from him now. I think at the time I was a little bit in awe. I saw him like he's making saves. I was thinking, it looks like he's just playing FIFA, making all these saves. He was ridiculous. But if I could go back to that sort of period, I think I'd learn a lot more from him and take a lot more from them sessions.
All right, nice one. Right, thank you very much for that.
Absolute pleasure.
That's 35 minutes gone pretty quickly. Right, some good takeaways from there. I love the bits around the mental side of the game.
Yeah.
No. And final things. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
Anytime, Andy. Stay safe, pal.
Right, nice. Same to you. All the best, family.
Cheers, mate. You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.